House Bill 1429, which is a bill that it encourages DHS, it kind of nudges them in the direction to apply a chip reader onto a SNAP card. So there's extra security. There's always going to be scams and everything, but this is an extra security measure so that those folks that get those cards are going to be able to get those benefits. I mean, imagine you're, a single parent, you have 1, 2 children, you get that money on the card, you go shop, and there's nothing there.
You're listening to another episode of Talking with Doyle with State Representative Doyle Heffley. As always, we're joined by the indomitable Hunter Kipe and the disembodied voice of producer Chuck with our main man Brian McCarty on the ones and twos. Doyle, what are we talking about today?
We are going to talk a little bit about human services. We've talked about this in the past. As I chair the Human Service Committee in the State House for the Republican Caucus, we had some bills that were running out, and with some concerns that we have with DHS and how they administer some of these federal programs, primarily the SNAP benefits, which are the supplemental nutrition benefits that are federal dollars that are administered by the state.
Oh, great. And we also have Olivia in the background
Yes.
to make sure that we get all of our stats correctly today.
Yes, Olivia did not want to join us on camera, but she is here. She is a research analyst here for the House and does a wonderful job and helped us prepare some of the notes. To have all this information at your fingertips is critical to doing the job that we do, and we have awesome staff, executive directors, and research analysts that work for our caucus that really help us. I think it's important. A lot of people say we know a little bit about a lot of different subjects. I mean, I just came from the House floor, and we were talking about land swaps and SEPTA funding. We had a voting meeting today with the Human Service Committee. So we touch on a broad range of issues, but it's really our research staff that helps us to compile that information for the arguments that we make, and that we can have that at our fingertips. It is critical. I am still adopting to ChatGPT and other AI sources. So with that said, we're here and talking a little bit about human services.
Yeah, but since it's the month of June, you've had quite a few voting meetings with the Human Services Committee. Do you want to talk about some of those bills that were brought up in committee?
Yeah, one of them, we mentioned it briefly at our last, on some of the bills we talked about in the last podcast, House Bill 1429, which is a bill that was my majority chairman, Dan Williams from Chester County, and I co-authored. And basically, it encourages DHS, it kind of nudges them in the direction to apply a chip reader onto a SNAP card. So you have your supplemental nutrition assistance program, so say food stamps, however you want to say, but so people get a card and they can go shopping with that card. The card doesn't have a chip reader on it, so when people swipe it, there's a lot of scamming devices, and people are losing those benefits.
That was really a hot story a few months ago. There was a lot of fraud and scams in regards to people stealing funds from people's SNAP cards, right?
Yeah. So what was happening, this has been happening a lot really since COVID, and there was actually extra money put on the cards during COVID, part of the American Rescue Plan funds. But what was happening is people were getting their cards scammed, losing all their money, and then the Biden administration would just replenish the accounts. So meanwhile, people were getting away with theft. So since December, they had stopped that practice, and now people that lose that money don't have any.
December of 2024 is when they stopped the program. So this has been going on for the last 4 years.
It's been going on for quite a while.
Yeah.
So basically what we want DHS to do is put a chip reader on the cards. There's extra security. There's always going to be scams and everything, but this is an extra security measure so that those folks that get those cards are going to be able to get those benefits. I mean, imagine you're, a single parent, you have 1, 2 children, you get that money on the card, you go shop, and there's nothing there. I mean, it happens, and it's terrible. And this isn't your some neighbor down the street or somebody in the local community stealing. These are international crime syndicates that are doing this because they're putting skimming devices on these readers. So DHS could do this, but they haven't. So we passed legislation out of committee and off the House floor, and now over to the Senate to say that DHS needs to come up with a plan and share it with the legislature how they're going to effectively and efficiently place these chip readers on the cards. Some could say, well, just do it, but you have to make sure that the retailers
and it's a cost, right?
Yeah, so there's a cost to do that, but also make sure that the retailers, where people are going to shop, that they're going to be able to use those cards. So there's some equipment that the retailers need and some equipment that needs to be put in place in order to do that. Just replenishing all the cards. I mean, there's a lot of people that receive these benefits in the Commonwealth. So there's a lot of different cards out there. There's 920,000 households. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of cards out there. So it's not easy. It's a lot of money to do that.
Have other states issued these chip cards?
So other states have started it. I think California, and I think is it Olivia? Was it Indiana or Oklahoma? I believe. Yeah, that were initiating it. So we don't want to be behind the curve. We want to be ahead of the curve. So this is going to nudge them in that direction. Because the other thing that's concerning is here in Pennsylvania, we are like ranked towards the bottom of the payment error rate, which means we're at 16.61% of payment error rate. That means that people that are getting these benefits that don't qualify for them. Mm-hmm. So that's something else, that's another problem that we have to address with the separate of 1429. This is another issue that we need to address with DHS is how do we get that error rate down, because the federal government, who's providing the states these resources to then give to the folks that need it, they want to see that error rate come down, or we could actually lose funding. That's one of the things that's in the big, beautiful bill that we hear so much about at the national level is the feds are saying, hey, look, states, we're giving this money to help people that are in need. We need you to make sure that it's going to go to only those individuals. So that's another conversation that we're going to have about this. And it's really about accountability, and that's what this legislation is about. And that's some of the things that we've been working on in a bipartisan way in many aspects in the Human Service Committee.
No, for sure. What other legislation have you been working on?
And this morning, as I mentioned earlier, we had a voting meeting in the Human Service Committee, and you can catch that live on our, I think on YouTube, right?
And also on your Facebook page.
And on my Facebook page,
streamed.
repheffley.com, what's it?
It's just Rep Heffley.
Rep Heffley, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you can catch that committee hearing from this morning, and it was House Bill 1108, which deals with the child care cliff, right? Mm-hmm. So often we hear folks that maybe they're on public assistance and they're maybe a single parent or maybe a young, a family, and they rely on some benefits for their child care. And so they got a job, and the employer says, I want to give you a raise. And say, well, I can't take this raise because if I take the raise, I'm going to lose these benefits. I'm actually going to lose money because childcare, as we know, is so expensive. And that's a whole nother issue. We could do a whole podcast on the cost drivers in childcare because it is ridiculous. So what this does is it makes it like instead of a cliff, makes it gradual. So they'll be able to increase their income and it'll be like a sliding scale as to how much they'll get covered. It's still receiving those funds so they can keep their children in making sure they're in a safe environment in childcare so they can work and maybe take on some extra hours, take on some extra responsibilities, and then work their way to a point where they don't need those benefits anymore. But just cutting off those services okay, if you make this amount of money, you get it. If you make this, you don't. And making that gradual scale.
Is there like a certain timeline that someone would need to follow in order to follow that scale?
So the federal government has actually have put some program or put some things in place. So there is a timeline that would be effective immediately when this legislation would be passed. It's already in the fiscal code. We're going to move it to the Human Service Code, and we're going to put some guide rails. Because there's also some exempt populations in this, veterans, people maybe that have special needs that are still going to be able to just be exempt and not have to pay anything. But those folks, as they get, they're still going to receive some benefits. They'll have to pay some towards it, but they're going to receive some benefits. It won't just be a black and white cutoff that is really limited people. But what we want is people to be able to work themselves out of poverty, right? And work themselves up. And we've seen it. I mean, this is the greatest country in the world. We have the greatest economy in the world. People crawl through the desert to come to this country for opportunity, right? They're doing everything they can to come here to experience the American dream. And we have folks and individuals right here living here, American citizens, and we want to make sure that the American dream is available to them as well.
No, absolutely. And as the time that we are recording this podcast, it is June 17th. We are nearing the end of the month. And of course, there's a lot of budget negotiations going on. And of course, Human Services, it's big at play right now. What are you hoping to see moving forward as we continue the budget talks, but also as chair of Human Services?
Well, I think there's a couple things, and some of them are small, some are rather large. But some of the things that we look at Human Services encompasses about 40% of the state budget. Education about 40%, and that other 20% is everything else, right? So it really is a huge, big ticket item, right? So a lot of it, and then a lot of that is federal matching dollars. So there's a lot of federal regulation. So one of the things that I sent a letter over earlier is TBI, traumatic brain injury. So there was always a fund, a line item in the budget to help those folks with traumatic brain injuries. It was $13 million, and they pulled down about another $13 million in federal dollars for that line item. And that line item had been condensed, and we're missing out on those federal dollars. So we would like to see that line item restored, $13 million. But look, the governor's proposing, a $52 billion, $53 billion budget. Everybody's getting money, but these individuals. And this is a small population, but it really is, it's heart-wrenching. I mean, anybody can be a victim of a brain injury, a stroke, a fall, a car accident, anything. And this money would go to help make sure that those folks are going to get the services they need so they can rehab and hopefully regain a lot of some of those things that they, through rehab, be able to, live a healthy and productive life. So that's something that I'm rather passionate about and wanting to see. And also, home health care workers, right? The governor did not give them a raise, an increase in this budget or the budget before. Well, he has increased funding or spending by $2 billion and wants to divert $292 million to mass transit agencies out of the general fund versus, having some fare increases to cover some of that. These individuals provide services to individuals who have nowhere else to go. Right? Some of these folks are, they have intellectual disabilities, or they have opportunities in their life where they just need somebody to come to their house and help them to get out of bed in the morning, help them use the facilities, right? And or help change a dressing on a wound or help them with a respirator. And we want to make sure that those folks are compensated, because I think as a society we all look at where do these dollars go? When we see all the waste and abuse, and like I talked about earlier in the SNAP benefits, but we really want to see the people that are taking care of those individuals that need that help. I think society, we agree that there are individuals that do need these services, and we want to make sure that they're compensated for the work they do. So I'm hopeful that the governor would change some of the things that he has, restructure some of the things in his budget to ensure that those folks are taken care of.